Once upon a time, Vid claimed I begin all videos with saying alright or okay. And he is correct, because I look and I make sure it's recording and I go, alright, it's recording. But I don't say the second and third words there. Anyway, we're going to be rooting against Vid here. This is the weekly open finals of whatever number is said in the description. I did not catch the whole game, and in fact, I just saw it was happening, flipped on the recorder, and went about doing other stuff. Um, and so we will be, and then I chopped the clip because I found, the game ended here at 6 minutes, and, I had let it run on a little long. So here's the game. I haven't looked at it before. You know, background of my computer. But I believe it started with Akiyama going in 9 with 8187. We can note Vid's hand has a huge left weakness. And Akiyama did not go at that by going on the left. He went at that by going on the right, where Vid's hand can play, but in really clumsy ways, because it also has a down weakness. So if we think about Vid taking in 6, his only capture is 8492, which is covered by uh, Akiyama's 8576. And he has many captures in 8. He has 9744 with the plus wall, he has 9911. Okay, that's 2 captures. But both of them have a 9 facing up, and Akiyama could play something, for instance, like that 8781 we see in 8, in 7 in response to either of those moves, and make this wall facing up that's very hard for Vid to deal with. For instance, if he ever plays 8492 and 6, we already saw that combo. Not that he needs to capture that in this line, but 8492 and 4 is also comboed, this time by 6964. And so it becomes very hard for Vid to attack things. So at this point, Vid goes in 4. This makes some sense because Akiyama, yes, the reason Akiyama is making the game rightward is not so much because of Vid's hand, it's because of Akiyama's hand, right? His highest numbers are, he goes 7, 6, 5, 4, 1 to the left, so it makes sense he'd make the game on the right. Probably should have spotted that quicker. That's okay. We're just saying what we notice, and when we notice it, some noticings will be a little bit late. So Vid says, I can go in 4, and I have 8774 to recapture in either 1 or 7, and you have no left power. Okay, I've created something in response. And Akiyama, and I think this is something he's very good about, is, and does this a lot in the opposite corners, though often more offensively, when there is a corner and it was not set up against, right? So there's a card in a corner, and the other card played has been in the far corner or a far side. Akiyama will often play next to the corner, forcing action in a productive way. Now, here, Vid has not a great attack from 8, but some attack from 8, and 1 attack from 6 that is comboed back. So Akiyama says, your weaker attack is in 6, I'm going to block 8. Now, if I do block 8, what's the cost of blocking 8? The cost of blocking 8 is I concede 7. So I want to have counterplay if you go 7. And he's specifically saying, I have in fact multiple options for counterplay against 7. One obvious one is he has a plus in 5, but I think this is not the point. I think the point is actually that he's going to play 5, 7, 9, 5, and 1. He's going to say, you can have 7, I get 1, 1 and 4 are safe for me, you have 7 and 8, but 8 is not safe for you, you have to cover that again, and I can work from there. But it's possible I haven't checked it thoroughly, because I'm just saying what I see right now, that 5 is actually the better reply. But both are appealing replies. Note that if you do go 5 with 8576, you still have 6 covered, because 8492, you still have a plus wall against that with 5795. Potentially, so if 8576 lands in 5, 8492 and 6, potentially you don't have that because 9744 has the plus and 2, depends on what cards are still in the hand, but you do still have threats in that direction. But I suspect the idea of 7 is to meet 7 and 1. Not sure for certain, we're only spending so much time here. Let's move forward. All right. So this is very much, see, I just say all right when I see something and I want to go, yes, I acknowledge this, and then we move on. Why am I defending myself on this? Anyway, so he goes 3, which I think tends to be though is not always, but especially in a situation like this where the cards in 4 and 8 have created these paired squares, and also 1 and 7. The cards in 4 and 8 have created these paired squares of 5 and 7 or of 1 and 7. There's sort of two possible pairs, but Vid can only play in one of those pairs. Vid can only play in the 1 and 7 pair. Akiyama has both cards in the 5 and 7 pair and has threats in the 1 and 7 pair. So it's very hard for Vid to interact in a favorable way. And if you calculate it out, it's perfectly possible it might work, but it's a difficult thing to interact with. I'm also assuming all rules are in effect, which I haven't actually checked, and if the video never scrolls down to show, we did scroll down. Good for me. Okay, and I highlighted it even. Great work. All right, so all normal rules are in effect. So we won't be making rules mistakes, hopefully. And we can go back to thinking about this. I think this kind of move often happens. I remember a closed game Vid played, perhaps against Delial and TTAC, where I didn't know what cards he had, of course, but I thought Vid probably doesn't have a good way to interact with the way Delial has forced the action. But it's not clear that Deli has a good way to interact with it either, and it's possible Vid can just play far away from the action, and if Deli plays near it, there's a good chance Vid can punish, and if Vid plays near it, there's a good chance Deli can punish, and Vid did indeed play far away from the action. And I never looked back to see what cards he had, but I thought it actually made a bunch of sense, despite being a kind of weird move because there was an obvious square to play and he did not play in that square. But I thought it was a reasonable choice, and Deli ended up figuring out that game really nicely. I think that's the last TTAC finals. Very nice game by Deli. But Vid did something I think made a lot of sense there. And here he is again saying, and we're not going to do in-depth analysis, we're just going to sort of do narrative of the game. He's saying, I can't interact with this favorably, but can you? Open question. Let's see if Akiyama can. Akiyama says, yes, I can. It doesn't really matter if I flip 4, because I can flip 4 from 5 and you can't, and if you need to flip 4, you're just going to flip 4 back from 1 whenever you want to, and I can't really attack 1. So there's no point in flipping 4, you're just going to flip it back with safety. So I should be figuring out which card I least want in my hand. And if we look at the game, there's kind of this downright tilt to it, but all directions might matter. 8-5-7-6 has useful play in 5, the others don't have. 5-7-9-5 has a useful plus wall in 1 that the other cards don't have. Makes a lot of sense, I think, to hold on to these cards. And now the question is, can Vid make a tie? Now, another point about Vid's move in 3 that I didn't mention, because I didn't think of it, is there's this funny thing in chess where every time someone misses a move, they go, oh, I forgot that move. And in a sense they did, because in a sense all the top players have kind of seen basically every concept. So the question is whether it's in their head at the moment of whether they can pull off the concept. But in another sense, no dude, you missed it, you didn't forget it. And I think I do a similar kind of ego protection thing sometimes where I'm like, oh, I didn't get to this. But no, sometimes I didn't get to it, and sometimes I did not think about it. And one thing I did not think about here was Vid has stopped a square where Akiyama can punish him, right? Vid would like to at some point play in 6, and Vid couldn't play in 6 because Akiyama could combo back in 3. So he did block a square where Akiyama has play in some variations, and Vid never does. At least in no line I looked at did Vid have any play. Doesn't mean there wasn't a line, but, So it makes some sense on that front, too. But now this looks very dangerous, right? Akiyama has kept 2 really nice cards for this endgame. He obviously has kind of 2.5 safe cards, right? Vid can attack one of these cards, but whichever one he attacks is a major concession. I guess the question here is, can you tie with 8, 4, 9, 2, and 6? And I think the answer is just no, they go in 5 and you just lose. 5, 7, 9, 5 sweeps you. Or can you go in 1 with 8, 7, 7, 4? And if you can't do either of those, you check everything, but it's very likely you're losing. So we see all the cards appear at once. This is the problem with not following Akiyama games live. If you're not reloading quickly, the last few moves happen very quickly. I think there is a very decent chance Vid intentionally walked into the biggest loss he could. Now, how could we get to this position? Because Vid has to play in 2 and 5. My first thought was Vid maybe started in 5 to get the 1 9 so that Akiyama could go in 6, and then he plays 8 4 9 2 and 2, and Akiyama plays in 1 and he flips 2, he flips 4, that combos 5, but he never flips 3 in that line. So that can't be the move order. So I think the move order we see, I think the move order of the game is Vid goes 2, Akiyama plays 6, Vid takes the plus in 5, and Akiyama combos back from 1. And now, because 4 and 5 are both Vids, 4 flips 5, flips 6, and that does flip 3 back. So that's my guess for the finishing move order. And I'm assuming Vid didn't have a tie here with 4 moves to go. It doesn't look like there was anything missed here. As long as 8 7 7 4 and 1 doesn't work, which maybe we should take a moment to just confirm. So 8 7 4 4 and 1. I think the most obvious reply to my eyes is 5 7 9 5 and 2 going up 6 4. But then 8 4 9 2 and 6 still loses because you flip 4. Yeah, okay, that works. Unless I'm completely oblivious, but I think that works. All right, so there is Akiyama's win. Well done, defeating the vile bad liar Vid, enemy of all. And that will end this video. All right.